Good afternoon. I'm Haylee Ficuciello. Today, we're going to talk about something that many Americans can already see happening, but far too many politicians refuse to admit. The Democratic Socialists of America are no longer standing outside the Democratic Party looking in through a window. They're inside the house, they're rearranging the furniture, and in many places, they're deciding who gets the keys. Now, before someone races to social media claiming that this is fear-mongering, let's establish something important. This is an opinion editorial, but opinion should still be grounded in facts. The Democratic Socialists of America openly describes themselves as a democratic socialists. They endorse candidates across the country. Many elected officials at local, state, and federal level have either belonged to the organization or embraced many of the policy priorities. Those priorities include Medicare for all, tuition-free public colleges, expanding public housing, strong labor unions, wealth taxes, rent regulations, significant climate spending, and much larger role of government in the economy. None of that is hidden. It's on their platforms. They're proud of it. The question isn't whether they're influencing American politics. The question is how much influence American is comfortable giving them. And that's where I have concerns, because our founders did not create a nation where government was supposed to become the answer to nearly every problem. They created the constitutional republic specifically designed to limit government. Read the Constitution, read the Federalist Papers, read the debates surrounding the Bills of Rights. You'll find repeat warnings about concentrating too much authority in the hands of government. Why? Because power has a funny habit. It rarely shrinks. Government almost never walks into a room and says, you know what, we have enough power. No, government usually wants another program, another regulation, another tax, another agency, another $1 trillion, and somehow it's always for your own good. Funny how that works. Now let's address something that always comes up. People say, Haylee, democratic socialism isn't communism. They're correct that the two terms are not identical. Communism traditionally calls for a collective ownership of the virtually all means of production and, historically, one-party rule. Democratic socialism generally advocates pursuing socialist-oriented economic policies throughout democratic elections while allowing a mixed economy. Those are meaningful distinctions, but here's my opinion. Both philosophies move towards expanding government control over economic life, even if they envision getting them differently. Where the expansion should stop is the debate Americans ought to be having. History also has the annoying tendency to ruin political marketing. Every generation is told, this time will be different. Historically usually answers, no, it won't. The Sovereign Union promised equality. It delivered shortages, political repression, censorship, and economic collapse. Mao's China promised revolutionary prosperity. Instead, the Great Leap Forward became one of the history's deadliest famines. Cuba promised liberation. Decades later, many Cubans still struggle with shortages and restrictions on political freedom. Venezuela proposed some of the world's largest oil reserves. Government intervention, naturalization, economic mismanagement, and decline in production helped fuel one of the world's economic collapse in modern history, sending millions fleeing their homeland. Every one of those countries had a unique circumstance. Every failure wasn't caused by a single policy, but there is a pattern that's difficult to ignore. The larger government becomes, the smaller individual freedom often becomes. Now, supporters frequently point to Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Let's clear something up. Those countries are not socialist economies in the classic sense. They have vibrant private businesses. They protect private property. They participate in global capitalism. Many economists describe them as a market economies is expensive welfare state. Every leaders in those countries have publicly rejected the label of being fully socialists. So when American politicians cite Scandinavia, they often cite countries that still rely heavily on capitalism to generate the wealth that funds their social programs. That's an important distinction, one that conveniently forget in many political speeches. Here's something else that deserves attention. The United States became the world's largest economy because of millions of ordinary Americans were free to build businesses, invent products, invest, compete, fail, recover, and try again. Freedom built Silicon Valley. Freedom built Main Street. Freedom built family farms. Freedom built small businesses. Freedom built companies that employ millions. Government didn't invent the light bulb. Government didn't invent airplanes. Government didn't invent personal computers. Government didn't invent the internet search engine or smartphones. Entrepreneurship did. Workers did, inventors did, risk takers did. Today's political conversation often sounds like this. If something is expensive, government should run it. If something is difficult, government should fix it. If something struggles, government should pay for it. If a problem exists, create another federal program. Apparently, Washington has become America's universal customer service department. Except here's the problem. Government doesn't create wealth. It redistributes wealth that already exists. Every dollar Congress spends first has to come from taxpayer, borrower, or money creation. That's not ideology, that's arithmetic. Now let's be perfectly clear. America absolutely needs a safety net. We should care about veterans, protect the disability, help families facing hardship, support seniors. Those aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of compassion. But compassion without fiscal responsibility eventually becomes a promise government cannot keep. And history shows that when government overpromises and underdelivers, ordinary citizens pay for the price, usually throughout higher taxes, higher debt, higher inflation, or slower economic growth, sometimes all four. So here's my concern. Not that every Democrat is a socialist, they're not. Not that every progressive wants communism, they're not. My concern is that the ideas once considered politically fringe have steadily moved closer to the center of democratic politics. Whether Americans view that as progress or a mistake is for voters to decide. That's how a constitutional republic is supposed to work. But voters should understand exactly what they're voting for, not just the slogans attached to them. Our Constitution wasn't written because our founders trusted the government. It was written because they didn't. And that's why power was divided. That's why the rights were protected. That's why federal government was given limited and numerate power. The Constitution begins with "we the people," not "we the bureaucracy." That distinction matters. It matters in 1787, and it matters today. The future of this country won't be decided by hashtags or campaign speeches. It will be decided by citizens willing to study history, examine ideas honestly, and remember the liberty is much easier to lose than it is to recover. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, senior correspondent for Englebrook Independent News. Thank you for watching and have a good evening.